Demand for resource as derived demand. Before we get to talk about demand for resources as derived demand, let's first explain what demand for resources is. So basically, demand for a resource is demand for a stock or supply of money, materials, staff, and other assets that can be drawn on by a person or organization in order to function effectively. When people use something, it becomes a resource. At the most basic level, we need uncontaminated food and water supplies, shelter, clothing, and good health. Resources are also required to make all the things that we use in our daily lives. Now that we have basic information on what resources are, we can move on to explaining what is derived demand. Derived demand is the indirect demand for something that has value based on other goods that can be derived or made from it, such as raw materials or other inputs to a process of production. Derived demand for a material is driven by changes in demand for the end product whose creation or production requires that material. For example, the demand for pizza quattro formaggi is high, which means that the demand for products that are used to make the pizza is high as well. They are not demanded for the current good capacity, but for the final product, which is pizza. Same goes with the demand for employees. Example, when the demand for pizza in the market is high, in addition to products to make the pizza, the demand for employees rises as well. The same goes for the decline in demand. Less demand for a certain product, less will be the demand for employees that work in that area. This is also the reason why wages differ from one profession to another. Employees or labor force demand is not the same for all countries. So countries that are still developing have more demand on agriculture, while industrially advanced countries have more demand on services, such as the United States. In the graph, we can see that the demand for good is derived from the demand for the good it produces. So when the demand curve for the cars shifts to the right, the demand curve of steel, which is needed to make cars, shifts to the right as well. Summarizing demand for resources as derived demand. So first, demand for a basic good, wanted not for its own sake but for the good derived from it, such as textiles, that is due to its use in production, or another good such as appearance, or demand for an input to a production process dependent on the output of the final or finished products. This is the derived demand. Thank you for your attention.
Created using Powtoon.